What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul and I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. I drop videos every single Friday, but sometimes drop one midweek like today because I had an opportunity to drive up towards Mount Fuji. It's a beautiful day, so I thought I'd talk about a topic and allow you to enjoy some great Mount Fuji views as I go over the mountain pass. So I'm going to talk about how holiday in Japan works, basically the holiday season of New Year's and Christmas, and how they're actually almost direct opposites of what they are in countries that have like a more Christian tradition surrounding Christmas. So I know that might sound weird that I'm claiming that New Year's and Christmas are opposites, but it'll make sense when I outline the points I'm going to make. So let's hit the road and talk about it. Alright, first let's start with the obvious. Japan adopted Christmas as largely a secular holiday. It's not really a Christian holiday here. So a lot of the church, Jesus' birth, three wise men, all of that storytelling is largely absent. What actually happens in Japan is a lot of places put up decorations. Christmas illumination is really popular. Some places really go all out with illumination, lights, and all kinds of beautiful ornaments, etc., to get people to come and basically check it out and enjoy themselves. And as a result of that, Christmas has largely ended up as something you go out for as a romantic holiday. Like there's a lot of young people who go out on dates during Christmas time, and it's like a time to have dinner in a fancy place, drink some champagne, and spend time with your partner. And what does that sound like? Well, to an American like me, that sounds like New Year's. New Year's is the time you go out on a date, you go to a fancy restaurant, you celebrate the new year coming in, you have some champagne, and it's basically either a date or something you spend with friends. And that's what Christmas is in Japan. So that's the first opposite. Christmas in the States and Europe, South America, etc., is a time for family. Families get together and spend Christmas together. And obviously that's not happening in Japan if young people are going out or it's a date night, etc. That's what New Year's is for. New Year's in Japan is when families spend time together. It's completely a family holiday. You basically go back to your hometown to visit your parents, your grandparents, and spend time with extended family. And that's where all the nostalgia and reminiscence of the season comes into play. It's New Year's, not Christmas. So that's another instance where they're just kind of the opposite of each other. Some other differences between Christmas and New Year's. Well, on Christmas in Japan, there really isn't gift giving in the sense that it's done elsewhere around the world. And the type of gift giving that happens is children will get a gift from Santa Claus up until usually on average the start of junior high school, so age 12, age 13. And this is something I polled my students, and that's kind of dangerous. Random obstacle. I polled my students, and the majority of them got presents from Santa until they were around 12 or 13, and that was about the same time that they didn't believe in Santa anymore, which is not surprising. But, of course, in America, even after you leave elementary school and you don't believe in Santa anymore, gift giving continues. Like, you still give gifts to your siblings. You give gifts to your parents and siblings give gifts to you. You give gifts to your nieces and nephews. It's just extended family gift giving is the norm. Now in Japan, that's at New Year's, in the otoshidama, or basically a monetary New Year's celebration gift. Basically, you get an envelope filled with cash, and that's usually parents, grandparents, sometimes aunts and uncles. Our kid gets otoshidama from all of the extended family, so I'm kind of envious because around New Year's my kid is richer than I am. Good for them though. But yeah, the extended family gift giving, it's not as extensive as Christmas is in the US, but it's definitely, the similarities is more there than actual Christmas holiday in Japan, because once the Santa myth is dispelled and the kids aren't following Santa anymore, then basically the gift giving stops, except of course the romantic gift. If you go out with a boyfriend or girlfriend, you might give them a present as part of your date, which that totally makes sense. The other place where the holidays are direct opposite is food, traditional food. Christmas in America and Europe and South America, everywhere that again has that kind of Christian underlying to the holiday, food traditions are very, very important. And it's going to vary from country to country, but every place and every family has their particular food traditions that you're going to find at Christmas time. In Japan, that's New Year's. The New Year's traditional foods are basically, in many ways, the equivalent of the traditional foods at Christmas elsewhere. In Japan, you have three that come to mind immediately. The first is toshikoshi soba, which symbolizes long life, and you eat it on the 31st before New Year's actually happens. And so it's like the last soba meal of the year. Some families eat it as their main meal. Some families eat it after the main meal. Some families even eat it almost at midnight, so it's like right before the New Year's strikes. The next one is ozoni. Ozoni is basically a soup where it varies from region to region, but the primary ingredient you find everywhere is mochi, which is the pounded rice cakes, and that will be found in the soup. And finally, osechi ryori, or osechi, which is the various traditional small dishes that come out at New Year's. And most of the things you don't really see the rest of the year. They really only come out at New Year's time, but they hold a prominent place in New Year's celebration and New Year's nostalgia. That tradition has changed a bit. Osechi used to be everyone made it at home, but no one has time or the wherewithal to do that anymore, so most times these days osechi is purchased at a department store or supermarket or something. Now, where osechi and Christmas foods differ is the meaning behind them. Now, there are some Christmas traditional foods that have a meaning attached to them, but a lot of them don't. I mean, a lot of them are just special foods that come out at the holidays and you enjoy them as a traditional meal or a traditional meal item, but they don't have a specific meaning. In osechi ryori, toshikoshi soba, and ozoni, like everything has a meaning basically. Everything in osechi ryori has a meaning. For example, you have the shrimp. If there's shrimp in it, basically shrimp is supposed to represent a bent back elderly person, so it symbolizes long life. Colors are red and white, which are the celebratory colors of Shinto religion, so red and white symbolism looms large in osechi ryori as well. Speaking of looming large, what's up, Mount Fuji? That never gets old. Another one is you have what's called kurikinto. Another one that's called I forget what it's called off the top of my head, and I'm driving so I can't Google it. It's basically maron, or chestnuts that are in a very sweet sauce that's golden, and that's supposed to represent like money and monetary gain, fortune essentially. And a lot of other foods on osechi have to do with fortune and getting money in the new year and long life, and those kinds of symbolisms permeate osechi. And obviously I mentioned toshikoshi soba, the noodles are long, represent long life, etc. So basically every food has a meaning, and that's a little bit different because not every Christmas food has a meaning or tradition tied to it. But again, it's that opposite effect, right? The traditional foods and the nostalgic activities and all those things come out at New Year's in Japan, whereas it's Christmas in the States and elsewhere. And if it's not Christmas, if you're Jewish and you're celebrating Hanukkah, it's kind of the same thing. You have those traditions, the traditional foods come out, the traditional activities, that sort of thing. So that holiday season is for, I guess, the West. As I really dislike using the term the West. I'm never really sure what exactly that means, but at any rate, yeah, the West has those traditions in December around Christmas, Hanukkah, etc., whereas in Japan it's all New Year's. Now, Christmas in Japan does have some funny food traditions, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. The first is Kentucky Fried Chicken managed to dream up a successful advertising campaign, the Kentucky Christmas, where back in the day, Kentucky Fried Chicken became the go-to food, so much so that you have to make reservations or stand in a big long line if you want to get Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas. And if you think about it, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of like I always joke with my students that it's kind of like if everyone in America decided that Japanese New Year's was pretty awesome and everyone went out to eat Yoshinoya, beef bowl, gyudon, fast food on New Year's to celebrate it the Japanese way. That's kind of the equivalent. But yeah, Kentucky Christmas is kind of a funny tradition. However, it's not as widespread as you might think. When I, again, polled my students, maybe one or two in a class of 20 would say, oh yeah, we do get Kentucky. And maybe about a third of the students would say they have chicken, like they get a chicken from Costco or they get a chicken from another venue. But yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken is one of those quote-unquote traditions, but it's not as widespread as you might think. The more widespread tradition is the Christmas cake. And the really traditional Christmas cake in Japan is not a traditional Christmas cake you would find elsewhere. But the Japanese traditional cake does make sense for Japan. It's a white cake with basically white icing and red strawberries. Again, white and red is very Christmas, but obviously more commonly green and red is Christmas, at least in the States. The white and red almost, in my mind, is reminiscent of Shinto, but that's not actually why they do it. The real reason that this white and red cake is popular at Christmas is because strawberries are in season in the winter. The Japanese strawberry crop, and believe me, Japanese strawberries are amazing. I like them far better than the typical strawberry you get in the US. But the Japanese strawberry season is December, January into February because the majority of the crop is grown in greenhouses. So they are harvested in the wintertime. That was weird for me as an American coming to Japan because in the US, strawberries are like a late summer crop. We're talking August, maybe late July, but more August, maybe into September. And so it's a summer fruit. So having strawberries be a winter fruit season is a bit odd, but now that makes sense for strawberries to be on a Christmas cake because that's the fruit in season. That's the fruit that everyone loves and wants to have at this time of year. So the Japanese Christmas cake makes sense. You do sometimes see in the shops the kind of I don't remember what it's called. I'm sorry. The French cake, the chocolate cake that looks like a log or a chunk of wood. That one you do find in Japanese shops for Christmas time as well. But far more common is the white Christmas cake. And again, when polling my students about that, that's what the majority of them have at Christmas time. And probably half to over half of the students actually do have Christmas cake every year as a tradition, whether they have chicken or not or something else. So there you have it, Christmas and New Year's, the basic rundown. And I hope you enjoyed the topic. And if you enjoyed the drive as well, please remember to hit that like button. Subscribe. Look for my weekly content every Friday. This video will probably drop, Wednesday or Thursday this week. So my next video will be soon after that. So please look for it. Also, I have dropped a fresh episode of the Journal of Japan Journeys podcast where I interview other long-term residents in Japan just to get their stories about why they've remained in Japan for so long and why it's become their forever home, essentially. So if you're interested in hearing stories like that from a variety of people, then I invite you to check out the Journal of Japan Journeys. I will link that in the comment section below, rather the description section below. Again, thank you for watching this particular video. I hope you enjoyed the nice weather in Mount Fuji, and I will catch you on Friday. Peace.